Every day, millions of Americans consume food and do not think twice about what pathogen might be contaminating it. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, every year 48 million people in the United States, or 1 in 6 people, become ill from food poisoning. Today, I will be teaching you a little bit about food illness and give you some tips on how to prevent food illness, like how consumers can keep themselves safe from illness by handling and preparing food properly. The next thing I will talk about will be knowing what foods to avoid, and lastly, purchasing and eating the best food from the best sources. First, I will start by giving you some background of food illness. Many people are unaware of the severity. There are many different types of food poisoning, but the ones documented the most are Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria. According to an article by FindLaw titled Types of Food Poisoning, symptoms of food poisoning can differ depending on the type of pathogen you have been infected with. The general symptoms listed on the symptoms information page from the CDC include stomach cramps, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and fever. These symptoms can worsen or be prolonged depending on the severity of the case, and for more extreme cases, hospitalization or even death. So it is very important to make sure that consumers are educated to prevent these. To start, we will talk about how to make sure that food is properly prepared and cooked, which is a major factor in keeping food safe. The Mayo Clinic says that Salmonella can be spread from something as simple as the knives that are being used while cooking. When preparing food, you should make sure to keep hands, tools, and surfaces clean. Another significant factor is the cooking process. When food is cooked to the right temperature, harmful organisms are killed. The CDC tells consumers that using a thermometer is the best way to make sure that meat is cooked to a safe temperature. All meat has to be cooked to a certain temperature to kill harmful germs, and these specific temperatures can differ depending on the type of meat. In this chart, we can see meat cooking temperatures. You have your meat on this side and then the temperature on this side. So for poultry, you would need to cook it to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And then for beef, depending on if it's ground or if it's like a steak, the temperature differs as well from 160 to 145. And then pork is 145 and lamb is 160. And this information is from Healthline. Storing food properly is also another way to keep food safe. Perishable foods need to be refrigerated or frozen to keep fresh. The CDC also advises that after the cooking of food, it should be put in the refrigerator within 2 hours. If not stored the right way, it can grow bacteria and can be dangerous to eat. So remember to make sure to keep everything clean while cooking, use a thermometer, knowing what the right cooking temperatures are, and refrigerating your leftovers. Another tip for preventing food illness is knowing what food to be cautious of and what to look out for. Raw or pre-made ready-to-eat foods increase the chances of consuming contaminated products. The Mayo Clinic says that Listeria can be found in lunch meats and unwashed produce. Listeria causes 1,600 hospitalizations a year. The act of licking the spoon after preparing a batch of cookies may seem harmless, but in reality, you're putting yourself at risk for Salmonella, which causes 26,000 people a year to be hospitalized, according to the CDC. The CDC also says that consuming raw or undercooked eggs, which can be found as baking ingredients, are not safe to eat uncooked. In this chart shown, we can see foods that are associated with Salmonella. So as you might think that poultry like chicken and turkey and eggs are the main causes for Salmonella, it can also be caused by pork, beef, vegetables, fruits, and a lot of other things. Eliminating harmful bacteria from fruits, vegetables, and other fresh produce cannot be done from heating to a certain temperature like with meat. So it's consumers' job to thoroughly clean the produce to ensure bacteria is washed away. When individuals educate themselves on these red flags of food, it will keep them safe from illness. The last tip I will be talking about today is how food illness can be prevented by purchasing quality food. The United States food system is much safer than other countries, but according to an article by WebMD called How Safe is Imported Food, 260 pounds of food is shipped from other countries and is eaten by the average American annually. Right now in the country, it's consumers' responsibility to pick safe food because inspection is very limited on these imported products. This article also states that food from these other countries is offered to Americans even though it is full of bacteria, pesticides, and contains unsafe additives. Shoppers reduce their chances of illness by purchasing locally sourced food. In another article titled Boosting Health with Local Food by the New York Times, it talks about how some consumers have started a movement of only buying and eating food from within 100 miles of their home. When purchasing local food, the opportunity to ask questions about farming practices and chemicals used is present, whereas imported food comes from large companies. Local food still needs to be cleaned and handled properly, but overall it is safer and decreases the risk of illness. In conclusion, food is a vital resource, so making sure that consumers are keeping themselves safe from illness that are carried by food is very important. Today we have learned more about food illness and also learned 3 ways that consumers can keep themselves safe. First, we talked about how to properly handle and prepare food, then what foods to avoid and some red flags, and lastly, what food to purchase and the best sources. These tips can keep you and your family safe from all the food poisoning that is out there. Thank you.